Adolf Hitler is waking up in 2011, 2011 alone. He's still 56 years old, and he has to make a living again. And he is trying to do this, and he is managing to do this in the second career as a TV comedian, which seems to be quite a good role for him. And this job, we are accompanying him in his second career from the best possible angle, the best possible point of view from inside his head.
Mm. But why did you write this book? Why? Why did you write this story?
In the first place, I didn't have any other book to write.
Okay.
Second place is...
That's a good reason.
Yeah, it's a good reason, because otherwise I would have been ghostwriting for someone else if I would have the job. So the second part is, it was fun to write. Mm-hmm. And that's why I kept on writing. I had started 2 other novels before, but they haven't been that much fun, and they came after 50 pages or what. They came to a point where I thought, well, what's happening now? And this Hitler character solved the problem. He needs shelter, he needs something to do, so I have, as a writer, problems to solve, and this keeps the story running.
Mm. So there's no political purpose?
In the beginning, no. In the beginning, it was just a funny story. Mm. And
so it could have been someone else that Hitler?
No, because I got the idea with Hitler, and the fun comes extremely with Hitler, with the Hitler person. Mm. The fun comes because I very fast noticed, after seconds, that in my point of view, it was a German actress called Veronika Ferris, a blonde actress, which I don't like, and I thought he would have liked her. Mm. And I at once noticed that if he would like her, all people in Germany would think she must be a bad person, or she must be stupid or someone, because we are used to this everyday model of Hitler thinking that whatever Hitler thinks is good must be bad, and vice versa.
Mm. Even in Germany?
Yeah, of course, in Germany. It's an everyday Hitler rule. You would because it's that's how what Hitler thinks is bad must be good. It's the broken down everyday rule about Hitler thinking, I would say. Mm. I think it's more or less like this, that in every other country too. But I noticed, of course, I can't tell anything about this actress. I don't know her, but it was a mechanism, and it would be funny to let people agree to him in some points, because now you have to think twice. Is he wrong? Are you wrong? And is it possible that you could be both right, that Hitler could be right? And it shows you the weaknesses of your model about Hitler thinking, and the weaknesses in your thinking about modern society, or whatever else you want to think about. It makes you thinking, because in the worst case you're agreeing to Hitler, and no normal person could leave that standing like that. Well, then I agree to Hitler. No one could be... no one could agree to that.
Mm. And this book has rather often, I think, been discussed in a political way. What do you think about that? There are discussions about fascism and Nazism and so on.
I didn't get so many of those discussions in Germany, actually. It was reviewed if you take the media, it was reviewed quite late, mostly, so and then in a quite cultural way, so is the style good, is it funny or something like that, more that, and in a political way, not so much. From the professional reviewers, the readers, like you can see on Amazon or whatever, wherever you see some reviews in the internet, saw the possibilities and the different layers of the book, which I discovered while writing it myself. And I noticed, oh, it's more than just a funny story. You can show similarities without making it less funny.
Mm-hmm. What kind of similarities?
One part, it's his rise to power. It's again, it's quite similar to his first one in the 30s. Someone in the beginning totally underestimated. We have him now alone. What can happen to him? Mm. And we notice, well, he is reacting fast. He's analyzing his environment, people, persons. He is able to react, to manipulate, to... It gives back to him some abilities, and suddenly, again, after maybe 80 pages, 100 pages, he's very fast, not so helpless anymore. Mm-hmm. And this is, this shows that this crazy monster we are used to in everyday thinking, he had abilities, and that's how it could have happened back then. And now, again, by simply listening to him.
Mm. So he's a skilled and smart person, intelligent.
I'm afraid so, of course. Yes, he is. He was intelligent, mm-hmm. but he was not superhuman. In some place, on the other hand, you see, well, he is able to talk, he is able to convince, he has the self-confidence, which is very important for convincing people, but on the other hand, no one is forced to agree to him. Mm. No one is forced to support him. Mm. Lots of the support he gets comes from, it comes quite naturally. People, they like his determination, or his secretary, she likes just working for a celebrity. Mm. And he's a nice boss, so she wants to keep on working with him. So it's easier than you would think, or than you thought in the beginning, to not to agree, but to support him, or to be alongside with him, or to not stop him. Mostly that's
And this is the situation today in Europe.
In some ways, you can see some similar development. You see that. Look at Hungary. They are doing small steps, and they are looking. Is anyone stopping us? Mm. And what resistance do they meet? Mm. Almost none. So they keep on, and riding this right wing. How far can we go? It's always like this. Yeah, you see something like you see some similarities, and the book seems to be working especially well in those countries where you can connect to some part from your present or your history. So
it's good selling in Hungary.
In Hungary, in Italy, it's 4th edition. Mm-hmm. For example, they have Beppe Grillo, a comedian getting politician, and when they saw the book, in some way they almost thought it's written just for them. I couldn't guess the success of Beppe Grillo, but in the beginning, in the end, my Hitler thinks about his political career, and I thought it would be a nice ending, but I never would have guessed that 5 months after writing the book, this Beppe Grillo shows you can rise from nothing as a comedian and you get 20%. 30, 20 years. So the Italians see some of their history and their presence there.
Does this mean that we are not so anti-fascistic, anti-Nazistic as we think we are? That we believe that we are?
In some way...
or are
you could say it more generally.
Younger generations?
No, we just don't know why we are Democrats.
We don't know why we are Democrats.
No, why are we Democrats?
Okay.
I'm quite sure we don't know exactly why. Because we could tell you a lot of reasons, but those are reasons we learned and not reasons we are really convinced of. Mm-hmm. Most people are thinking, no, the other part is more the reason. I think we are Democrats because it's working good and because we are quite wealthy. But it's not difficult to be a Democrat when you're wealthy and when everything is running more or less bearable. The interesting part is when you're hungry, when you have nothing to eat, or if you feel treated unjust or bad, or if you think you're bad, you're feeling bad, then you will quite fast notice how democratic you really are.
And I think maybe Greece is a good example. When they get poor and there's crisis, then there also grows Nazism. Do you think there's a connection?
I'm not sure if Nazism is the first point growing, but you are looking for the guilt elsewhere. You look for other guilty persons. You are more open, at least for extremist points of view, and of course,
even left extremism
could be because you are looking for solutions, different solutions, and you.
Is this good?
I don't say if it's not good, but it's natural. It's quite natural, and you have to.
Is it necessary?
I don't think you can talk about necessity.
I mean, like this, if the democracy is like in the middle way in politics, and then it doesn't function, it's the only crisis, and people get more and more unemployed. And
the interesting part is what was the first reason for dictatorship in the beginning? In ancient Rome, it was because to get fast reactions. And after the danger is over, the good dictator would resign and give the power back to the senators. So one of the weaknesses of democracy is decisions and being fast if it's necessary. And well, you should keep that in mind as a Democrat. But very often they don't keep that in mind. That they, some way, they should deliver.
okay.
Yeah, because it's better than we had a.
But that's
what I think is important about democracy is not the politicians you get, but the change you get quite often. So sometimes you have in democracies you had a big coalition of the big parties, which makes changing very difficult. And I always like to think that these big coalitions they only make sense if you do the really unpleasant things fast. But what I found out...
Can you make an example?
Yeah, in some way. You saw the reforms Mr. Schröder made in Germany. Those reforms would have been a good idea for the big parties of Germany. But of course, it was just one party who did this. It led to the loss of power of Mr. Schröder. And after that, we had this coalition which didn't do anything much in those years because they didn't do what was necessary. And in those parts, those times, I always think, why don't you get it? You should be now solve difficult problems, because you have a vast majority and they don't do it. So Democrats don't always do what makes sense.
Why didn't they do it? These reforms that was necessary. Are they too keen to be in the power? Or are they not?
They are distributing enough? The pleasant. They tend to distribute among them the good news, and they don't want to bring you the bad news. I don't know. Yeah. Why don't they do it?
But
because they are afraid, I guess they are afraid if they would do it, the other party would have an advantage. So they are blocking themselves in the race for delivering good news or doing something which is not so hard to do.
And is there also a fairness to come in conflict? To come in conflict?
A fairness?
Are they afraid of coming in conflict?
They are
a contradiction.
They are afraid of losing voters.
Okay.
And it's just, I guess it's just this. Who will get in the next election more voters of us, and who will have the most the biggest advantage of what we do, and they're not sure of that. Who will have the bigger advantage? So instead, I was very disappointed from this big coalition. So I don't think it's a good idea to have it, because it's not so bad if you go more to the left or more to the right. If it's too far to the left, then at the next elections you can go more to the right, and the people will do that if they think it was too much. So
it's good to have the possibility to try.
It's important, and that's what democracy is about. I think the change, not the persons,
and also to try to see what will be the fact if they do this politic or this politic.
Yeah, of course, but the next government will keep what was working, and they will what was not working. They will try to correct that in their way, and then afterwards it's a process. I always think it's a bit like being alone and moving a very, very heavy cupboard. Usually you don't press in one direction. You go to one side, you press it to the left, and then you change the side, you press it, and the cupboard is transported if you are alone. One side, right side, and it makes progress. It won't work if you're pushing it the middle.
Are you afraid? Are you scared about fascism in Europe today? How do you look
in some way, I'm surprised. It's tendencies like that, like in Hungary, are working so easier and without any resistance, any big resistance. But what I see is.
But there is also fascism in France, Le Pen, Marie Le Pen, and
I think
you have Nazis in Germany.
The amount, I think, is quite important. I think you have, among normal societies, you have 5%, 6% out in the open or less out in the open, but they are there. It's
in
not
Norway
so much a surprise. So, and you can't put brains in all those people. Those you won't change much of those people. So I think there's more to win if you convince the 90% not fascistic why they should stick in different situations to democratic solutions. And you should be able to have reasons for that.
But the fascism is growing. Or is it only right?
I'm not sure.
Right-wing extremists.
I'm not convinced. I'm of that. I'm not sure. I can't. I don't have the figures already. And
but
I see in some countries, it is.
Yeah.
So and in these countries, there must be a reaction. There should, not only in the countries, but from what do we have a European Union for? It's but.
Do you think the European Union will last? Or will it?
Hard to say. There always must be a reason for everything. And if the reason is not there, everything can be lost quite fast. It's not sure you have democracies in every country now for the next 20 years, 50 years? It's not sure. If people, it's not forbidden to be stupid. And if people decide not to have a democracy, then it's gone. And afterwards you can say, oh, now that went really fast. But
is this what is happening now?
No, I don't think it's... Yeah, I don't see it now happening in that... I don't see it happening immediately. But it's always possible. And in every country it's possible. And it's always depending how good they feel, how good they feel represented, how immediate they feel there should be changes in what direction ever.
You write a book, and at the same time it's also a responsibility for the media to describe the reality. You are being a journalist also, not only an author. How do you look upon media's responsibility to criticize, to look on fascism and to tell if fascism is coming, or Nazism, or right-wing extremism?
I think it's their duty, but of course in everyday's life and in everyday's way of behavior, you can't guarantee that all the media fulfill this.
But are they doing their work?
In which country? Which media?
Okay.
This is a very general question.
Yeah. Okay, you got the chance to say which country you like. Maybe you could tell us about Germany.
In Germany, it's well, it was one of the most of the biggest surprises I got, that my book was just discussed in any cultural, in some cultural sense or in some quality sense, especially after it sold way over 1 million copies. So now the book is getting some way of mainstream, and there's no discussion about that. That's what what surprises me quite a bit. No one has to discuss any book, but usually a book is, if it's sold in vast amounts like shades of grey, everyone is asking what's happening, what's going on inside our women. There must be something we didn't know about, and we should find out about that. Maybe they all want to be beaten or whatever. That's the normal way how phenomena like that, mainstream phenomena, are discussed. It didn't happen with the book, and I think if suddenly over 1 million Germans have Hitler back in their bookshelf, of course I'm convinced it's a good thing. Of course it's my book, but what do I know? Someone should discuss it quite seriously, and it doesn't happen. So you see that.
Are you feeling a bit sorry about this?
I was raised different. I was raised even as a journalist, and of course as a politically thinking German. I was raised that you should be aware of some processes dealing with Hitler, dealing with fascism or whatever. You should keep an open ear and eye to the things happening around you.
But do you think media in common normalize fascism? In Sweden we have this discussion that the populistic right wing, we are using the same words as they use, and that these words was not nice to use before. But now they have grown and they are in the parliament and so on, they're getting more and more votes.
I can't say anything about Swedish media. It's,
No.
I can follow
But
it in the.
this phenomenon
But this phenomenon to normalize fascism, no, I can't see that in Germany. Of course, it's still what we are doing is we are having our rituals, dealing with the subject, and in those rituals, it's a normalization is not. It's not inside. no, it's not happening. It's more the other part. We had 3 years ago, the case of a sports journalist after a football match, where a famous TV journalist said that for our Miroslav Klose, a player, this special game must have been a innerer Reichsparteitag, which is a word from Nazi Germany. Mm-hmm. No one discussed did she use it right, or was it? It was just a big scandal because she used that Nazi word, and if you think about it, that's not an adult behavior. It's just it's kindergarten behavior. She said a dirty word, and that's what we are doing a lot. Is a lot looking who is using the dirty word and said something ugly. Look at him, bad, 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 bad. We are not asking why was it that bad or whatever. So we are in this case we are quite safe from normalizing any use of Nazi words.
But we tend to do this after reading your book.
Do we?
It's a question.
I don't think so.
No?
If you think it's normal to have the same words or the same way of speaking or thinking like the character of the book is having, it's Hitler telling you this. So I can't imagine any character more doubtable about if it's recommended to follow him. But if you still think, well, now I think it's normal because Hitler uses those words, well, then I can help you.
Yeah. My parents used to tell me about when in Sweden before the Second World War, that everyone was so impressed of the government, the Nazi government, because they made Volkswagen, Autobahn, and so on. They keep the country in order.
It's one of those points we tend to forget is that after the economic crisis and after it was the 30s, dictatorships were discussed as a quite successful way of managing and dealing with the troubles. The Italians, the Germans, of course, the Spanish, they are all faster and maybe they can react more. We have something like that again today, of course, not with them but with China. If you, I know some people, some economy people coming back from China. Say, well, if you discuss China with them, then they say like to say, well, of course. But it's working so fast. If you want to have something done down there, it's done in 2 weeks with every regulation, and you don't have any problem. You get everything. We would need more of that. And we will see, that's what they sometimes say, we will see what's happening to us if we don't get faster or if we're not acting more Chinese-like. Yeah. It's not always, you don't always have to suppress people to find a dictatorship attractive. Sometimes it's much easier and much that the people are convinced by themselves. Oh, those Chinese, they're doing something quite right. Let's do it more those way, the Chinese way.
So, would you say there's a difference between fascism and Nazism and maybe communism?
Hard to say. The question is this imported? By whom do you prefer to be killed? I don't see there any advantages in being killed by a fascist or by a Nazi or by a communist. It's being killed isn't not pleasant at all. So,
and you don't want to be killed, of course.
maybe you see different, but I wouldn't like to be.
When I read this book of yours, will I get to laugh?
Pardon?
Will I get to laugh?
With whom?
When I read your book, will
Yeah. You didn't read it yet?
No, of course not.
That explains maybe something. Will you get to love Hitler or the book? Maybe the book, but it's possible that it makes you think that you had a different image of Hitler and that you were anti-Hitler without knowing why.
Okay.
And it won't correct your point of view, but you will, I hope so, you will be forced to adjust your level of non-agreement. You would be forced to, okay, this was not the reason why was I against him? Because in some ways he will make you agree. And
so I can end up as a Nazi.
He won't be denying that he will be doing the same things again. Mm-hmm. He is saying it throughout the book. It's plain to see, and it's no secret, and he's not saying it very politely that he will be doing the same things again. He hasn't learned anything. And he still is right, of course. He's convinced, and it's still destiny. And it's plain to see the same person will do this, and still you see, you will be sitting there and say, yeah, but in some point, but he's right. It's a bit, you maybe will be walking on shaky ground. But I hope you will come out a non-Nazi. But it's still possible. I did get very, very few reviews where someone was agreeing to him on throughout 400. But, well, congratulations, then you're a Nazi. I can't help you with that. But those people, I'm convinced, were Nazis already before. And yeah, I think the non-Nazis have more to learn, to read, to find out in this book.